Hello, my name is Chrissy Hodges. Welcome to my channel. I'm an advocate for OCD, in particular, pure OCD, which is the community name for individuals with intrusive thoughts, feelings, images, and mental rituals. It's also the name of my memoir, Pure OCD, The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. I'm a certified peer support specialist working with people worldwide in supporting them as they're working toward recovery for OCD. I can also provide referrals for therapists. I run groups through my practice where you can meet other people and get support. And I also have an online community. If you're interested in any of these, go to chrissyhodges.com or email me to inquire about that. NoCD, NoCD is an app. Inside that app, there are ways to connect with other individuals, get support and resources, and they also do telehealth in many, many places across the world. So check them out at treatmyocd.com and or to schedule a consultation. I wanted to talk today about a topic that it might seem a little random, but it is relevant and important. And it might not feel like it's relevant to you, and that's okay. But this is more geared toward people who are struggling when it comes to approaching milestones and ages. In particular, the 20s to the 30 age mark, and when we're talking about OCD in general. However, I also know that this can happen when you're coming from teens into your adulthood, from your, any age in the 30s, in particular 35, going from 30s to 40s, 40s to 50s, things like that. But I want to talk about how that kind of natural struggle can be exacerbated by OCD and some of the fears that can come up around that. And I'm also going to share my own experience. As y'all know, I'm certainly not in my 20s anymore, but I had a very significant experience in my late 20s, and I think it's going to correlate well with this. The reason why I'm talking about this is because this comes up a lot in groups and one-on-ones. And I think that normalizing this for people and helping people feel like they're not alone if they're going through it, or if it's kind of like that approaching, age, or if you went through it and you kind of don't understand what was going on. So I'm going to focus here on, but know that this can go with any milestone of age, but I'm going to focus on when you turn from the 20s to the 30s. It's really interesting because it's usually at the end of the 20s where when I'm working with someone and providing support, whether they have been through treatment or not for OCD, that they really do struggle with this feeling of, I have not done enough in my life. I haven't done anything of relevance or importance. I feel like I'm behind. Even if you are in a relationship or you've been married or you have a job or the job you want or the career you want, I thought this was going to fulfill me, but I really just don't feel, it's almost like this, I could be doing more. And why is it that I feel like everybody around me or other people have these really, happy, fulfilled lives, and I feel very empty and I don't feel like I'm doing anything important or relevant? So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that. Now, remember, I don't have the solution, but I can share my own experience of it and just kind of offer my insight on what I believe could be going on. So this is interesting too. So we had someone in group come up when we were talking about this a couple weeks ago that said that this, if you do or don't believe in astrology, it's okay if you don't, but that this is like that time of your life is when Saturn comes in. So I don't know anything about it. But that's a significant portion of your or a significant part of your life where there are big changes and it's normal and natural to feel that way. And I thought that made a lot of people feel better, including yours truly. So, so maybe the years from 27, 28 into your early 30s is really significant. That changeover is pretty big. I mean, if I'm looking and reflecting that, I did really believe like leaving my 20s was this wow. I mean, I'm leaving the 20s going into the 30s. And so when I was reflecting on what I thought the 30s should be, I hadn't met a lot of those goals. I hadn't met a lot of that imagery in my mind of what life would be like, or maybe it was like for my parents or other people. And so I think a lot of people in that particular transition start to reflect on what they have done from the teenage years into the 20s, and then now I'm moving to 30s. And here's what I think. OCD can make you, and a lot of this I talk about in the podcast I did with Stu recently on the OCD stories with grief, but OCD, no matter when you get it or how long you've had it or what themes or anything, can really just make you feel like it stunts things for you. Growth, emotional growth, social growth, the kind of the normal progression that a lot of people go through as they are learning more about themselves, learning what they want, kind of engaging in life in ways that are social or financial or as far as looking for jobs and things like that. I do think that even though OCD makes us feel like we are behind sometimes, and the grief of, oh my gosh, I could do more if I didn't have this, or I've sabotaged relationships, or I've avoided things that I've wanted to do because I'm scared, and all of the things we can reflect on and feel sad about and grief about. I do want to say that the 20s are a hard decade for people. And while OCD adds a little bit of fuel to that fire of being hard, I truly believe, and this is just from being a peer sport in general and just talking to a lot of people of all walks of life, the 20s are difficult because you're trying to pull apart what you have been taught as an individual, from parents or family or whatever, and you're trying to come into your own and learn what you believe and who you want to be with the shame and guilt sometimes of needing to let go of some of those things you were taught, or the inability to let go of those beliefs because you may be betraying your family, or you may be, you're too scared to not believe something. And I'm talking specifically about religion, politics, things like that. You're too scared to come into your own. That is a common thing for the 20s. I think that in a lot of ways, not everybody, but I think a lot of people are kind of sheltered and growing up and, they go to school, in middle school, high school, and I'm just generalizing, by the way, and then maybe go to college. And then it's this, oh, okay, the world's going to open up to me and blah, 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 blah. And you graduate from college and you're like, oops, I have no experience, so no one's hiring me. I don't really even know if this is what I want to do. And it's hard making friends in the real world after you're not thrown into like an institution, not like an institution, like a school or being in high school or whatever, that now you're out in the real world where people are just hustling and doing their thing. And they may not want anything to do with you. It's hard to make friends when you get to a certain point. It's hard, and it gets harder as you get older. And so you may feel lost. And then as you're going into that transition from the 20s to the 30s, I think a lot of feelings might be, I should have had everything figured out. And then there might be some anger and grief of, well, I wasn't able to because of this portion of time I had to spend on OCD and how it disrupted the normal flow of things. A, be mad, be sad, do what you need to do to grieve that. Absolutely. I'm in no way saying don't be mad about that. You have every right to be, and you deserve to grieve if you want to, and that's a natural process. But B, this is normal to feel that way, not only because of OCD, but just in general. It is normal to question your worth. It is normal to question what you're doing because I look at that this way. I haven't always looked at that, and then I'll share my story in my 20s. It is okay to question it because that's continuing to challenge yourself to do more, to be better, to learn new things, to do something that's more fulfilling, to find relationships that are more meaningful and valuable. I think sometimes in reflection, we think, I should have this already and I don't. What's wrong with me? This is what I know about myself with OCD. Being trapped in my brain for so long, being under the control of something that in my brain that made me feel like I was ensnared all of the time and didn't have a choice means in my external world, you better fucking believe I'm not going to be in a job I hate, in a relationship that's making me miserable. I mean, I have before, don't get me wrong, but I tend to really reflect, not necessarily even in a in a compulsive way, but more of like, how can I continue to broaden my life? How can I continue to get better? How can I continue to do things that are aligned with what I want? Because for so long, I only did things how OCD wanted. And I think so many of us have that inside of us. There is a lot of fear with that. So I'm validating that for sure. But it's okay to helpfully question things and continue to push. Am I doing what I want to do? Can I do more? And I want to tell you, don't fear that. Do it. Take the risks. One of the things that OCD does teach us, A, is that we're resilient. B, we can look fear straight in the face and be like, I know you're there, but I'm going to do this anyway. That's what exposure response prevention teaches us for OCD. But we can transfer that over to real life too and take risks because we know how hard things can get in our own brains, in the internal world, that sometimes the external world problems seem easy. I'm not saying they all are, for goodness sake, but some of the trivial stuff and the fact that we've been trapped in our brains sometimes translates over to the real world of like, yeah, well, I'm not going to be trapped internally and externally. So let me just keep forging and learning and growing. Worth is inside of you. And I know that OCD strips that from us, but you can build it back despite having OCD, despite whatever themes you can. And you have to believe that you're capable of that. And you have to practice believing that you deserve self-love, that you are lovable. You are someone that deserves happiness. And I know your brain is going, yeah, but I shouldn't because thinking of all the things I've thought. No, 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 no. It doesn't matter. You as a human being deserve it, no matter what OCD tells you. Now, I'm going to share my story of the 20s really quick, and then I'll end. And I hope that this resonates with you. I thought the 20s were the worst decade of my life. I mean, and y'all know I struggled. Ooh, there's a fly. I struggled in my teens, in my childhood and my teens with OCD not diagnosed and not treated. So that was miserable too. Let's just say the first 30 years of my life sucked. But when I went in my 20s, oh my God, once I got effective treatment and I graduated from college, I, moved to Colorado and I was like, I'm going to find myself or whatever I was doing. I'm going to learn more about who I am. And man, was I lost. Not only was I grieving OCD and feeling like, oh my God, if anybody knew what I had just gone through, if they knew about my suicide attempt or that I had these horrible thoughts or whatever else, I thought, no one's going to like me. No one's going to want me. I'm keeping it. So, of course, I feel like I'm living a double life because I'm keeping the secret from everybody. And again, trying to be this person over here while exploring things I wanted to do. But still, I sat there and just thought everybody had their shit together all through my 20s. Everybody knows who they are, what they want, who they want to be with, what job they want, all of this. Everybody was better than me. That's what I thought. I'm nobody. I haven't done anything of worth. I'm insignificant. And it especially got bad 27, 28, and 29. Oh my God. And I was looking for anything and everything externally to just try to fill myself up. I became an entrepreneur. I was thinking that having success that way would help. I got married and I thought being married would help. You know, I tried different sorts of spirituality, thinking that would fill me up. I became an Uber athlete, thinking that would help. Nothing helped. And I just was walking around on this earth at that age thinking, I am nobody. I am, I don't offer anything in the world. I'm insignificant. I bring no substance. I still hadn't dealt with the grief of OCD, so that was just pounding on me of like, and then I'm mentally ill to boot. And it was just a struggle. It was those years were some of the hardest years of my life. And really it all came down to, I don't do anything of substance. I'm not contributing. Nothing I do is relevant or worth it. So you probably think I'm going to share with you the answer. Well, I don't have the answer. I wish I did, but I didn't. One of the things that I did, I just continued pushing through in an effort to just seek out who Chrissy was. It got a little bit easier. I will tell you, it got easier in my 30s when I relapsed and realized that OCD was there for good and that I could now focus on finding people that have OCD that get what I had gone through. So I didn't feel like some alien walking on the planet. And that's when I started doing advocacy and stuff. And I'm certainly not telling you that you have to go out and do advocacy, but that's what I knew. When I started seeking out and meeting other people and creating a community around me so I didn't feel so alone, all of a sudden it was the first stepping stone of, oh my gosh, there might be something worthy in me because I saw in you. That's it. And if I could like other people in the community with OCD and love them and want to speak with them and create relationships, then maybe I was worth it too. So that was my first glimpse at being able to see that nothing externally can define me, but that I can define me. And it was a little pebble of sand, but it was enough. And then since then, this has been like 14, 15 years. I've just continued to seek out how to love myself kind of through the eyes of the community. So my encouragement is this: just keep trying to find ways to love you, to love yourself. And I know your brain tells you you don't deserve it and you're not worth it, but you are. No matter where you're at, no matter what you've been through with OCD, no matter what it tells you, what milestone you're about to hit, if you're 18, 29, 34, 39, 48, 60, 85, it doesn't matter. It's never too late to start loving yourself. It's never too late to see that you're valuable. And you kind of have to just practice and choose to believe that you are. You don't need anything external to make you great. You're great just for being here and surviving OCD. You are. That is enough. That's more than most people do. You are special. And I hope that you know that. And I also hope that if you have ever experienced that as you're approaching milestones, you are not alone. And I continue to, I'm about to be 50 in, less than 3 years. And it is daunting, but I just continue to surround myself with people that are secure, that love me for who I am. I know that's hard. It's hard to find people sometimes, but I can learn to love myself because they do. And it has eventually translated into I can continue to grow and see the good in myself. It's hard for me to even say, but if I can do it, you can do it. I hope this helps in whatever capacity, whether it's age barriers, whether it's you're facing something, a big change in your life, or you're unhappy and you want to make change. Do it. Take the risk. You are stronger and more resilient than you think you are. Trust me on that. I hope this helps, and I'll see you next time.